It is more dangerous to give birth in the UK today than it was in 1985. That's hard to believe, isn't it? How many other medical procedures could you think of where the risk of dying is now higher than it was over 40 years ago? And it comes at a time when the NHS is spending more than ever on maternity. But the grim reality is, according to analysis by the Sky News data and forensics team, spending on midwives is outstripped by spending on compensation payouts. Serious injuries during childbirth are on the rise, and mums have been telling us that they are being failed by a sector in crisis and, crucially, they're not being listened to when things go wrong.
I was told by the midwife to shut up. There was no compassion, there was no, how are you?
I'm not here to help you.
There's been lots of different reviews, there's been lots of different recommendations. What we want to do is drawing that together and actually having a plan to improve things.
PTSD is something that you will live with for your life.
I was looking at him and I did genuinely have a moment where I thought, like, oh, this could have not been me. And, like, that is an unthinkable scenario, but it is a real scenario for people.
Harper's life lasted less than half an hour.
I just remember screaming at my mum, saying no.
My husband was left alone in the room with my blood for over an hour by himself, seeing my blood everywhere, not knowing what was going on.
I just decided to just squeeze layer on layer, brick by brick, and just squeeze it down and not talk about it, not let it be seen.
Maternal suicide remains one of the leading causes of death among women after birth.
I cried 24/7. I didn't know what was wrong with me.
One midwife telling the inquiry, I feel embarrassed to say that I am a midwife.
Morale for midwifery for the profession has continued to plummet, and that's not surprising given the decade of reviews that we have.
In too many cases, it actually destroys the people who are providing that service.
It'll cost the NHS a lot more money, unfortunately, but worse than that, obviously, it's about saving babies' lives and saving mothers' lives.
Our health correspondent Laura Bundock is with me now, and Laura, a snapshot of what is going on for mothers and families across the UK. Talk to us about the scale of the crisis in the sector.
Well, I think crisis is the absolute right word here, but this is a crisis whose roots really date back well over a decade. We have to go back to the scandal at Morecambe Bay, the investigation there in 2015. Its findings following a series of maternal and baby deaths found a dysfunctional culture, missed opportunities, serious failings. Recommendations were made at that point. And yet we now know Morecambe Bay was not the end of the story, it was merely the start. Since then, we've had many other significant investigations, Shrewsbury and Telford, East Kent, the ongoing Nottingham one, which is the biggest of its kind, unprecedented in its size and scale. That's looking at 2,500 cases. And there are others as well in the pipeline. And I think the troubling thing is that time and time again, the same issues are uncovered, all of which point to problems with patient safety, and not just problems, but issues that are so bad that it's putting the lives of patients and vulnerable babies at risk. I mean, me and you, I think, have spoken to so many, too many people and heard so many harrowing and heartbreaking stories. So it's great to come to a unit like Coventry, which is well managed, it's well run, but it is not like this everywhere. We know that progress is slow, and it certainly hasn't been quick enough for way too many families.
Yeah, we have to say thank you to University Coventry Hospital, because they've opened their doors and allow us to see every part of the maternity journey. And they've done that because they're getting it right here. It hasn't always been the case, but they have turned things around and are now regarded as one of the best units in the country. But they are the outlier, aren't they?
And that is the problem, and I think the government recognised that last year when they commissioned what was meant to be the rapid review, the AMOS review, looking at what's been going wrong, visiting the trusts which are seriously failing. We're going to get the AMOS review, we now know, on the 30th of June, so late at the end of this month, basically. But I think it still raises lots of questions. She's already said, Baroness Amos, we've had 748 recommendations made so far, but things are still going wrong. It is a system, it is a service in crisis in too many areas. It's just uneven as a service. And I think lots of people will be asking themselves, why is it taking so long to try and fix it?
OK, Laura, thank you. Well, delivery by C-section is now the most common way to give birth. We have one of the highest C-section rates in the world. NHS advice saying that women have the right to a planned caesarean if it is considered safe for mother and baby. And some mums are choosing to have a C-section because of their previous experiences during pregnancies, many of them traumatic. Yesterday, I met Liliana and Pedro, who kindly allowed me to join them for the birth of their daughter. And we can bring you some of that C-section procedure now.
Right, so you did come to our clinic, didn't you, on Friday, anaesthetic clinic?
Liliana, how are you feeling?
A bit overwhelmed.
Tell me why you decided to have an elective C-section.
Because I have already 2 other girls. They all was delivery, natural delivery. But my second one came too fast. And because of that, I've been having postpartum. I had complications like pain. My pelvic floor wasn't good after that. So I've just decided I don't want to make it worse.
What's your name? Pedro. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Right, shall we come into theatre now, please? If you'd like to follow me. Good morning. Please tell me in your own words what we're doing for you today.
C-section.
We have an elective caesarean section to deliver baby safely.
Yeah,
and you've agreed to a blood transfusion if it is required.
Yeah.
We've got...
Okay, sharp cut on your back now, okay?
Okay.
It's looking good. You feeling OK?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. She's wrong.
Yeah. All normal, okay?
Okay.
Special delivery on the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Wow. My tongue is actually high for you. Hello.
I'm just going to put a little one on you.
Yeah, she's...
Towels on you, okay, just to keep you both nice and warm. Oh. Sorry?
I knew. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Are you? Hello, madam. Oh, she's going to start crying. Wait, this is so ugly. Put me again inside.
And that is what it is all about. We're going to catch up with Liliana, Pedro and their new baby daughter a little bit later in the programme. But as we well know, not all parents are as fortunate, and traumatic outcomes are on the rise. And the government's new maternity advisor knows herself that all too well. Michelle Welsh, MP, joins me now live from Westminster. Michelle Welsh, really good to have you on the programme tonight. What a time to take on your new role. We just saw what was effectively gold standard care there, a safe delivery and a healthy mother and baby. But we know that that is not the case. For too many women and babies, it is a postcode lottery as to the care they get. How confident are you that you can improve that on your watch?
Well, I am confident, and just actually seeing that there actually brought back my own experience. As you probably know, I've spoken really openly about my experience. I had to have an emergency C-section, and my experience was nothing like what I've just seen on the screen at all. But I was lucky. I walked out of the hospital with my son, and that is the word that actually is driving me on and on with the work that I do, because maternity care should never ever be about luck. It should be about safe and compassionate services. So I do feel confident, but actually this is about systematic change, and it's going to be some real hard work involved.
Yeah, I spoke to a mother who's expecting, who's had a lot of experience in this hospital for quite sad reasons, but she's hopeful that this pregnancy is going to be a success. And she simply said, it's not fair. It's not fair that I get this standard of care simply because of where I live, when so many women don't. We spoke to the new health secretary earlier in the week here on Sky News, and he said that this crisis is a top priority for him. We know it is for you because of your personal experience and your new professional role. How are you going to hold his feet to the fire on this, to keep him to his words and to make sure that he is as focused as you are?
Well, I'm not alone in this battle. As you know, I've got an army of families with me, hundreds of organisations that I've been involved with way before I was elected as a Member of Parliament as well. This is about us all collectively working together to make sure we keep on speaking about those things that are affecting women across the country. I mean, the situation is utterly horrendous in so many maternity departments across the country, and I know that there are people working frontline day in and day out that are desperately trying to provide that safe and compassionate care. But actually what we're seeing is a system that is completely broken, and unless the government makes those big, bold policy changes, we are not going to see women and babies protected in the future.
We have two key reports coming out this month into maternity care, one at a national level, one involving a Nottinghamshire trust where you were treated. And, you know, they've spoken to 2,500 families who received poor, life-changing, fatal care in some cases. They're both coming out this month. And as I said, it's being seen as a watershed moment. Will it be? Because there is a cycle of scandals, investigations, reports and recommendations that, let's face it, have largely been ignored.
And exactly, and I can understand why lots of people are feeling this way. But what cannot happen, and I'm absolutely adamant about this, and I will hold every single person in government that I need to account on this. There cannot be inquiries or reports that are just left on the shelf. This is about action. This is about taking all of those things that have been learned over the years and what families are saying, what midwives are saying and what obstetricians are saying that are working on the front line, and turning them into big, bold policies. We're talking about real continuity of care. I had over 50 midwives involved in my care. I had to keep retelling my story about all of my health needs and my medication. That is not unusual. We are talking about accountability, and when I talk about accountability, when things go wrong, giving people the confidence for working on front line to say, this has gone wrong, I'm really sorry about this, this is what happened. But at the same time, when things start to go wrong, in a trust, we need to have the ability to go in there, to see what is happening, to make sure that we do not see and relive what has happened in Nottingham, what has happened in Shrewsbury and Telford, and we don't have more inquiries like the ones in Leeds. Because what has happened is women and babies are being systematically failed, those working on the front line are being systematically failed, and unless we make some big changes, that will continue, and I will hold absolutely everyone to account on that.
As I said, both those reports out this month, two big reports. You know, the one into University Nottingham Hospital, the biggest of its kind in NHS history, and of course we've got the national one as well. And the Nottinghamshire families are upset because they've told that the timing of the national report, its release, will come less than a week after their report is released. And these are families who have waited years for this moment, and their fear is that the outcomes, the sheer weight of what will be revealed is going to be overshadowed by the national report. Can you understand your anger And, you know, should this not have been thought about, the sensitivity of it and the timing of these reports?
Yeah, the Baroness Amos report, because it is an independent inquiry in the way where is a decision that's been made separately to the government as to when that is released. And absolutely, there is a real tight time span before that. There isn't anybody greater in government, I don't think, that doesn't understand the plight of those Nottinghamshire families after years and years of walking alongside them. And this is their moment. I'm going to do my utmost to make sure that they do have that moment, that they are listened to, and actually that the other inquiry does not overshadow what has happened in Nottingham. Because what I will say about Nottingham inquiry from the people that I have spoken to, from those that are affected, that actually what happened in Nottingham is a watershed moment within itself, because actually what we're talking about is systematic cultural issues within a maternity department. And actually we saw some of that recently on a programme that was aired only this week. I think that will be even magnified even more. But I think you are right. What needs to happen going forward, and this is why I've been brought in as to be that advocate, is actually respecting families, listening to families and making sure that they are really, really heard in all of this. So yes, I absolutely understand where they are coming from, but I am going to do my absolute utmost, as I always have done for the Nottingham families, to make sure that they are heard and they are continue to be heard when those big decisions are being made.
Yeah, I mean, when you were appointed in this role, it was much welcomed. You know, this was something that, you know, mothers and maternity staff had been crying out for, that bridge between those in the power to make change and those who are crying out for it. And we know that the new health secretary has said this is going to be a priority. I just put that to you, and I know you've had conversations with him. But, you know, some of the statistics that Sky News has uncovered this week, our data and forensics team, I mean, if something isn't done, care is only getting worse. We're looking at a mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, higher in the UK than in Europe at the moment. The number of tears and blood clots in childbirth increasing. I mean, this is a national shame. Outside the health department, is government taking this seriously? Because when I saw maternal mortality rate higher than in Europe, you know, most of us here at Sky News are like, how is this not being shouted about more? Is this being taken seriously other than in the health department at the heart of government?
It absolutely is, and actually only today, this evening, I was at number 10 talking to senior officials about what was happening in maternity, about this isn't just healthcare, actually this is about linking in all departments with regards to this. They are absolutely, as a government, taking this seriously, but I want to be really clear on this. When I was appointed as the maternity advisor, I was very, very clear about the fact that this role has to be allow me to say what I need to say and allow me to do what I need to do to get those changes we so desperately need. Number 10, we're absolutely okay with this. The Department for Health and the Secretary of State are absolutely okay with this. I'm knocking on every door possible, because I know we only get those big, bold changes, actually, if we want to change those systems, if we want to make this work, then this means everybody in government backing this. This means the whole cabinet saying, actually, enough is enough. It is time to change, and this is what we need to do, and we need a whole government approach on that. I'm confident that number 10 are behind it. I'm confident that the department is behind it and the Secretary of State. But be reassured, I will absolutely hold everyone to account on this. This isn't something that I am taking lightly. This is an opportunity for me, actually. This is everything I've fought for the last 6 years. And now I have an opportunity to fight for all of those women and all of those babies that aren't even born yet. And I'm taking this role very, very seriously.
Oh, well, look, Michelle Welsh, National Maternity Advisor, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really important to have you as part of our special coverage. Let's hope that this month does prove to be a watershed moment in this crisis, and I hope that we speak again. Michelle Welsh, MP there, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, let's get some immediate reaction to that interview with Michelle Welsh, the new National Maternity Advisor. I'm joined now by Eva and Tom Hender, whose son Aubrey was stillborn in 2022. Thank you both so much for joining us tonight on the programme. Eva, you feel that the NHS maternity system failed your family, failed your son Aubrey. Can you talk to me about what happened and how you were failed?
Of course. My pregnancy was by the book, so to speak, until 36 weeks. At 36 weeks, my water broke prematurely. I went to the hospital, was kept in a hospital on a ward for about 36 hours. I didn't see the doctor for the first 33 hours-ish, so that was very interesting. I was reporting to everyone who I saw, from the cleaner up to the consultant, that Aubrey's movements were getting weaker and fainter since my water broke. All I was given was a CTG, which is basically just a heart rate measurement for me and for the baby. And because the machine was basically meeting the criteria, my own feelings about how Aubrey started to behave after the water broken weren't really taken into consideration at all. After 36 hours, I was released home. And then after a couple of days, I started having contractions, which was to be expected because after water breaks, usually mum goes into labour. So my contractions started. We've been told before we've been released from the hospital that if anything changes, to give a call to triage, and that I would be treated as a high risk mother, and I would be most likely called in to triage straight away. We called in. The person who answered the call, now we know, didn't read any of my records, and we were told not to come to hospital until my contractions will get closer and more severe. Obviously, we've trusted the person who was on the phone, as you should, because they are the clinical employee who should know what they are talking about. We stayed at home. After a few hours, I started bleeding a little bit, so we called the hospital again. And we've been told again that we don't need to go to the hospital yet, even though we specifically said that there is a major change and that my contractions are getting more. We've been just dismissed completely. And then after another hour or so, we decided that it's time to go to the hospital because my contractions started to really ramp up. They were just, they were 5 minutes apart-ish. On the way to hospital, literally 5 or 6 minutes before getting to the door, I started bleeding in a car. And we know now that that's when Aubrey died. So basically, because we weren't listened to and because most of the staff didn't do their job properly, our son bled out in a car on the side of the road. After that, we've been failed by the system completely. We've been fighting now for 4 years just to be heard and just to keep someone accountable for his death. It's impacted our whole life and our whole family's life. And
we're still not there.
We are
sorry.
Definitely. Can I just say I'm so. Can I just say I'm so sorry. That's extremely upsetting for you to share. So thank you for doing that. And I know you're doing this with Tom because you're now part of the Maternity Safety Alliance, because the bravery of parents like yourselves coming out and telling the worst experiences is so important in bringing about change. And Tom, again, with parents, it's not about individual blame. It's not about any kind of punishment. So often I just hear that you just want openness, honesty and accountability. So we don't have to keep hearing stories like yours so other families have better outcomes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean...
Talk to me about...
First of all, I think we'd like to say it's a shame we weren't...
...change you want to bring about.
So we are asking for a public inquiry into the maternity system. We know you're at Coventry today, and we've heard it said that that is one of the hospitals that does it right. But I think there should be no doubt that every hospital, including the one you're at, has avoidable harm. We're seeing a system where we've had multiple reviews at Shrewsbury, Nottingham, Leeds and Sussex. These are not isolated trusts, this is systemic. I think what you are seeing today is gold-plated care. No one will be sick today, the rota will be full. No one will know, no one knows if the clinician they're being treated by is under an investigation. You just don't get to know. I think it's important to know that even at a trust that is one of the ones doing it right, which is what we're hearing, in 2024 there were 24 stillbirths and 11 neonatal deaths. Only 11 of those, less than 10 of those were referred for external investigation, and in some cases the MNSI felt the need to make recommendations for the trust. So if this is a hospital
it is
where
a
we are saying
system-wide
that
problem,
care
as you point
is
out,
the gold
in terms
standard, yeah.
Yeah, no,
It happens everywhere.
I understand that.
If
and that
this is a hospital that says there's
today.
gold standard care.
Openness and honesty, putting your hand up when mistakes have been made, whether it's at the time or afterwards, because, you know, what you and Eva are describing is you're still fighting for answers and accountability and essentially compassion with what happened to you. Mistakes were clearly made, but you're being re-traumatised by what you're going through. And Tom, I want to ask you for a response to something I was talking to with a National Maternity Advisor about this month. 2 massive reports being released, one into maternity care at a national level, a national overview, as it were, and one into Nottingham University Hospital. So families in Nottinghamshire affected, over 2,500 families involved in that. And they're being released at the same time, and that is causing some upset. Because, you know, for those Nottinghamshire families, they have been waiting years for this moment, and the fear is that their trauma, their experience is going to be overshadowed. Perhaps you can talk to me about your reaction to that.
Yeah, so I feel for Nottingham families, but it's not just the fact that their experience will be overshadowed. That review has been going for 4 years, and it is going to be overshadowed and pressed into the same news cycle with a light touch desktop review that should have taken 6 months and has been extended to a year. We have told the MNI from the start that its approach is not appropriate to get to the bottom of the conditions, and now, after Donna Ockenden has announced the date she will release it, the MNI is suddenly being released the next week.
And again, as you said, did it have to be that way in terms of such as the sensitivity of what is happening here? So many families will be saying, why does it have to happen in the same month? We heard from the National Maternity Advisor there, it's because the National Review is independent, so they're not consulting on timing releases. But Eva, if I could just ask you...
the MNI... yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, go on.
The MNI claims to be a family's first approach. From its communication, from the way it briefed journalists before families recently, from the date of this review, it is no longer families first.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that in terms of families who have, you know, shared their worst experiences with those carrying out these reports, feel like they should be the ones to know first, and that is entirely understandable. Eva, as I said, I want to end on what you hope for other families. You hope that they will never be in that situation. And again, that all comes down to how hospitals and trusts react at the worst of times as well as at the best of times, right?
Absolutely. And we feel that a lot of times, even the mums who have the best experience, there is always something wrong. And obviously my evidence is only anecdotal from talking to a lot of other mums, but it just shows you the full picture of the actual human experience, that every mum that I speak to has something wrong with her care, whether it is when they are given birth or postnatal. I've heard from a lot of mums that mental health care is not there, and it's so important after giving birth, especially after traumatic births. If I can just add one more thing, because that's something that's really nagging me for a very long time now. I really don't like when parents and families are being asked what should be done. We shouldn't be burdened with this. We are not experts. I am not a medical expert. I don't know what should be done. I can just tell you that the experience for the mothers most of the time is not perfect all over the country, and we are putting our trust in experts, whether it is administrative or clinical, to actually come up with the solutions to help us. So putting burden on parents, I just think it's very unfair, because first of all we have to relive everything that we went through all the time, but also it feels like a burden because you feel that you are being put into the position that you almost have to put something in place or come up with an idea so it will never happen again. And again, it just feels very unfair.
Yeah, Eva, you make a really good point, and is one we have heard repeatedly here on Sky News as part of our coverage of this crisis. Eva and Tom, thank you so much. Thank you for talking to me about Aubrey, and I know that you talk about it and you relive it for the benefit of other families, and know that that is really appreciated by those affected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Laura, I mean, that is really difficult to listen to, and it is important to remember that not all mothers and babies, but too many mothers and babies are not getting good outcomes.
No, and I think one thing we've probably learned from today is that no two births are the same. It is a risky business, giving birth, and in some cases where you have a complex population, there are lots of issues that present themselves during pregnancy, during birth. Some of them can be slightly predicted, others cannot. So it isn't a straightforward business. But that said, when you hear from bereaved and harmed parents, and we've heard from so many, haven't we, it's really hard to hear. The stories are really, really difficult, and the trauma is really long-lasting. I don't know how many times I've heard it where parents tell me it feels like they were shouting into the void, that the culture they were up against was so toxic. There was no accountability whatsoever when things went wrong. It puts huge pressure on parents, on family groups, at what is already a really difficult time for them, driving them into very, very dark places, both mums and dads. I've heard some really shocking stories, and in some cases it reinforces their resolve to take compensation, to take legal action against the trusts. But in other cases, they are still struggling year, after year, just to, in some cases, make ends meet because they've had to give up work, they can't return to work. It really is that difficult for them. And what I've learned today, actually, being on this unit, is that all the different investigations, all the inquiries that go on have an impact on every single member of staff in maternity units. So a well-run unit, like here in Nottingham, in Coventry, they are preparing themselves for the release of the Nottingham report. They're going to be holding sessions for the staff here because they know what is going to come out in that report will be deeply damning, and it will make the jobs here of the staff who are trying to do their best even harder.
Okay, Laura, thank you. Well, let's have a look more at the workings of where we are today here in Coventry. Earlier, we took you inside the operating theatre as a baby was born via elected C-section. I want to take you further back in the maternity journey now, back to where most mums' experience in hospital starts, the 20-week scan. Let's take a look. We're about to do the 20-week scan.
Yes.
This is always seen as the big one, isn't it? Explain why the 20-week scan is so important.
So the 20-week scan is really important because it's the one time, really, in our whole lives that anybody checks that we're structurally put together normally. Yeah. Okay, so we're checking the baby's brain, the face, that they've got 2 kidneys, that the spine's formed normally, looking at the baby's heart in quite a lot of detail. And at the 20-week scan, the heart is about the size of an acorn. So it's really something tiny, but we're looking in all the detail to make sure that all of the heart is put together normally. And then we're also looking at where the placenta is and how it's feeding the baby and how the baby's growing, and to check that it's safe for mum to have a normal delivery and the placenta isn't in the way. Lots of people also ask if they can find out the gender at the 20-week scan, which we are happy to do if we can see it at the end. But this isn't the main reason why we're doing the scan. The main reason is to make sure that baby's healthy and that mum's healthy and everything's progressing as it should be.
Yeah, and hopefully you can let out a sigh of relief and carry on with the rest of your pregnancy and start to make plans. Yes. Well, let's have a look at baby, shall we?
Yeah. So we've got baby's head tucked right down here. We can see baby's heart beating away in the chest there. That's a nice normal heart rate.
Might be small, but it's a loud heartbeat.
And baby's heart rates are much faster than yours or mine, just because they're smaller. Okay, and that's nice and normal. There's two little eyes, nose. So this is sort of looking at baby straight on. Tip of the nose, 2 nostrils, lips, top lip, bottom lip, chin.
What's it like to see this, Rebecca? Because this must be the moment it feels real.
Yeah,
because so much of your pregnancy, you don't know what's going on internally.
I know. You just feel like, especially it's our first baby, so we haven't got a clue. So it does really make you feel like, oh, it's actually happening. That's our baby.
So these little feet over here are kicking away. 2 little feet there, little toes. Everything looks absolutely as it should do, Guy. Now, did you want to know the gender of the baby? Yes. Yeah? OK. Let's see if baby will cooperate and let us see. OK, congratulations then, guys. So if you look here between baby's legs, that's a little girl. Oh, the little princess.
Oh, Rebecca, how does that make you feel?
So happy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys. She's beautiful. All right.
And congratulations. I've got goosebumps. That was so wonderful. I'm so happy for you, and thank you for letting us share that moment. And essentially, we've taken a home video for you of your 20-week scan.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased we could provide that service for you today. Listen, congratulations. Thank you. And can I just say, while we've been on air, we've had another baby born here on the maternity ward, 14 babies born here at University Coventry Hospital today as part of the trust. A little boy, I think the latest one was. Little boy born within the last half an hour. Well, as you saw there, that was one end of the maternity journey. We're going to jump to the other end now. Before a newborn baby leaves hospital, there are a series of screening tests just to check that everything's OK, to ensure any early diagnoses are made and treatment of any health conditions. I joined Nikita and Paul with their baby Primrose, who was being checked over. Nikita and Paul, congratulations. Baby Primrose arriving less than 24 hours ago, and you're just going through all the checks before you can go home. This is one of the final, I guess, hurdles for parents before you can go home and enjoy your family of 6.
It's part of the screening programme, so we are looking for things that babies could be born with, most common things congenitally, so any concerns that they have with their eyes, their hearts and their hips, and little boys, their testes. So the first thing we're going to be doing is listening to her heart when she's nice and quiet, and then checking her sats, just to see how well her heart's producing oxygen around her body. So her heart was beautifully and clear. Just feeling as well for any birth injuries, so we check their collarbones, we check their arms, to make sure there's no bumps and lumps. We check their fingers, all 5 fingers, 5 toes, check their little creases in their hands. So this is like when you take a picture with an old camera and you get that red eye bounce back. It shows there's no signs of cataracts or glaucoma that she's born with, because if it didn't bounce back, then we wouldn't see that one. Perfect. We're just going to do a stepping reflex next. She's going to take some little steps. There we go. Like she's taking her steps. Looked at her back as well, which is perfectly straight. No signs of birthmarks or birth injury. There we go, and that's our examination.
The maternity service here in Coventry is regarded as one of the best in the country, but it's only 4 years since it was given a red rating by a national watchdog. So how has it turned things around? And with 47% of maternity units deemed unsafe by the Care Quality Commission, what could they learn from practices here? Earlier today, I spoke to Mara Tonks. She's the director of midwifery here at University Coventry Hospital, to find out. So Mara, as I've been learning through our coverage of maternity care, there is no such thing as a normal birth and there is no typical 24 hours on a maternity ward. Talk to me about what's been happening here and what you're preparing for today.
Yeah, so like you said, it's no day is the same day as yesterday. Today, we've already started our elective caesarean sections. We have on average around 5 of those a day. We've already invited our women in that need to have their labour induced today. So those women are currently being either admitted to the ward or admitted to labour ward. We then also have to deal with what's happening on labour ward in the here and the now. They're the births that we can't put off or we can't plan. So the ward round there has already happened with the consultant. So we've got a plan about what's happening there, and that allows us to understand what our emergency activity is against our elective activity. And then we wait for women as they come in, and as they do come in, they come into our maternity triage where they're seen, they're reviewed, and then from that they'll either go to labour ward, they'll go to be admitted on the ward, or they'll go home with that follow-on advice.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the start of your day, but we're talking about 20 past 10 in the morning. You've been going for hours. There have been 4 babies born so far this morning. Just talk to me about the numbers. How many babies are born here a day? What are the staffing levels?
Yeah, sure. So on average, we have about 15 babies born over a 24-hour period. Staffing levels, we're really privileged here at UHCW because we're full to our vacancies. So, you know, we put an advert out recently and we had to close it within 2 hours. We've got midwives that want to come and work with us here.
You know, our data and forensics team have been looking at the different stats right across the maternity care system, and we do talk about women, mums saying they aren't listened to, but also midwives saying that they aren't listened to and don't feel confident to raise concerns, and it feeds into that wider picture when we hear about cover-ups, things going wrong, the lack of accountability. So that's something that's really key for people who are invested in this issue. And on paper, when you look at it, more money in the system, more midwives, you know, there are midwives that can't get jobs, you know, and fewer babies being born. But that's not translating onto wards across the country. Why not? Because if you can do it, surely other trusts can. Where's the mismatch? Why is it not happening?
I do think infrastructure has a lot to play with it. You know, when our hospitals were built, I mean, this hospital is a relatively new hospital, although 20-odd years old, you know. But it was never built to look after a population where we were going to have a 40% caesarean section rate, or more than a third of our women, or around a third of our women having their labours induced. You know, so infrastructure has a lot to play with the way that we're able to deliver safe care.
You know, Mara, you are invested in this issue. It's your life's work. You lead a team, you know, trying to provide the best care possible. When you look at the state of maternity care as a whole in this country, how does it make you feel?
It's heartbreaking, you know, it actually is heartbreaking. You know, we've heard some things only in the last week around, you know, other organisations and the kind of issues that they're dealing with. And, you know, we've had midwives here say, that doesn't really happen, surely. But it does happen. It's just the realisation that that is happening in units within the UK. It is just is shocking. It definitely, although that crisis element isn't here at UHCW, our staff certainly feel that sense of moral injury. You know, we've got midwives, or I have midwives here that don't even tell people that they are a midwife by profession. It does feel like everything surrounding maternity at the moment, and some of the crises surrounding maternity in this country, the blame is being led at midwives. But let's not forget, midwives have been let down historically year on year by underfunding, you know, lack of midwives. You know, we've gone from having no midwives to employ to having, you know, to close job adverts early and not having enough jobs to give to midwives. I mean, now is the time to really invest in midwifery as a profession, as a career, if we are going to heighten that sense of, you know, that sense of, you know, specialism around our profession.
Well, we're joined now by midwives Mary Grogan and Demi Riley. Mary has been serving as a midwife here since 1982. Demi has been a midwife for around 7 years. Good to have you both with us. And Mary, I'm going to come to you first. You know, you've been a midwife for a long time, since the 80s. How has care changed in that time?
Well, very much, really, the population of Coventry has changed and it's very diverse now, both culturally and age-wise. So that has changed the care that we deliver. And we've had to change with the times. And that meant updating my skills and maintaining, you know, my continued professional development. But also, like, things like the diagnostic that we have now, the diagnostic test.
Yeah, needs are becoming more complex, aren't they? Yeah,
and we're saving more babies, premature babies.
How many babies do you think you've delivered, Mary?
Thousands. I've lost count.
Thousands. Well, I hear they call you Magic Mary because you've got the magic touch. And in fact, Demi, you helped to deliver Demi.
Yes, yeah. I delivered Demi, and she told me one day we were working here on the labour ward, and I was quite shocked, you know, because I said, well, I don't recognise you. You look a little bit different from the first day I met you. But yeah, it's been lovely because I have had that experience. I've had a varied career, and I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm really privileged to be at UHCW with such a wonderful team, really.
We can really get a sense of that camaraderie here on the maternity unit because, as we've said, in the main, this unit is getting it right. You celebrate the wins, but you also put your hands up when you make mistakes. That's something we've talked about. And Debbie, why did you want to become a midwife? You're 7 years in. Was it because of Magic Mary?
Well, yeah, that first look. If I'm completely honest, I came into midwifery wanting to take a completely different route. My original plan was neonatal nursing, but there's no direct route. So I went into midwifery to then go on to neonatal nursing. Once I was here, I just loved it and never moved. I stayed.
We hear that across the board in the UK, retention, I mean, there are more midwives leaving the NHS than any other clinical profession. Retention here, though, is good. But life as a midwife across the country in 2026 is hard. I mean, what are some of the experiences you're hearing about? You're not seeing here, but you're hearing about elsewhere.
I mean, social media plays a massive impact on the care that women want to receive now from maternity services.
Oh, that's interesting.
There is so much on social media now about boycotting hospitals and staying at home, free birthing, not calling midwives. It's terrifying. The repercussions that could have on a woman and their baby and them not know until it's too late is really, really dangerous. It's really scary.
Yeah. And actually that's something, because we talk a lot about the fact that so many people are getting health advice from social media now, not necessarily going to trusted professionals. We've had an incredible day here on the ward. We have seen so much. You and your team have been incredibly accommodating in opening your doors and showing us, you know, what goes on here. Like a typical day, Mary. I mean, you know, we hear that midwives, you know, go the extra mile and don't take breaks. And even though it's good here, it's the same. It's not the kind of job you can just go, I'm done, I've got to walk away.
No, you can't. And like you build up a relationship with the women in labour, and you can't run off, you know, 5 minutes before the baby's born. And you want, like, they need that nurturing, and I think that's the most important thing that we have to instill into our young midwives. You know, it's okay having the technology and all that behind you, but women need
fundamental. It all boils down to care, doesn't it? It really does.
Yes.
Well, listen, Mary and Demi, I mean, what a wonderful connection that is. I'm sure it was quite the moment when you found out that you had delivered Demi here. Well, listen, as I said, thank you to you and your team for opening your doors to us today. We really appreciate it. It's been really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we've been hearing about the pressures facing both staff and families on labour wards, but there are also many stories of hope. And I've been hearing from the mother of a baby boy who is thought to be one of the smallest surviving premature babies this hospital has ever seen. Isaac was born in February at 22 weeks and 3 days. He weighed just 555 grams. 99 days on, he and his mother, Vimbi, are getting ready to go home.
There's been moments of fear, moments of exhaustion, but moments of hope as well. We were placed in a hospital with an incredible medical team. They've been amazing, And I don't think Isaac would have got to where he is now. He's thriving, from fighting for his breath from day one to being in special care unit. And just before I came now, one of the doctors were wanting to talk to me about the D word, discharge. You know, they're starting to do the planning around it. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster. And I think today is 99 days, so it's 100 days tomorrow.
Talk to me about what it's been like being in this hospital for that length of time with someone so tiny. How much did he weigh when he was
Had 500, just over 500 grams. Yeah, and I've been celebrating every gram gained since. It's a milestone that I never thought I needed to be celebrating. He hit 2 kgs today. But it's been incredible. I cannot fault anything from being in intensive care. I think that was the hardest time. The nurses there, they've got a big job. You know, they're taking care of the tiniest little ones. And not just, I didn't feel like they were just taking care of Isaac. I think us as a family as well, we're so accommodated.
How important is that? Because we hear that so much from mums, whether they've been through a scary start to a new life as you have. But it's about being listened to and about being spoken to in a language you can understand, particularly when you're at your most vulnerable. Is that what's made the difference for you?
Yeah, I think one of the first few days, the consultant said to me, "You're the most important person. You will get to know Isaac more than us." And that threw me off a little bit, because at first you think you've handed your baby to the medical team and they said, don't feel like you have to just be quiet. If you notice that something is wrong or he's just not looking like how he was looking like a minute ago or an hour ago, raise it. It's important. So that made me feel like, okay, I'm part of the team, as hard as it was, because sometimes often you feel like you're just a visitor, you're just coming in. But I think that conversation allowed me to feel like, okay, I'm also part of this.
Well, from 500 grams to 2 kilograms, one of the midwives was commenting, he's one of the bigger babies now, and he's nearly ready to go home.
Like a big brother in there.
Well, listen, how are you feeling about the prospect of going home? Because I appreciate that, you know, Isaac's been here for his first 100 days, maybe here for a couple more, but going home. What does that next stage look like?
At first, I just wanted to go home with my baby, but now the thought of going home with my baby is even more scary than staying here. But there's a lot of support that follows me after home, so that's reassuring.
Here's hoping Isaac can go home really soon. Now, earlier in the programme, we had the absolute privilege of witnessing the birth of Liliana and Pedro's daughter. She arrived by C-section yesterday morning, and earlier on this afternoon, I caught up with them both as they prepared to take her home. Oh, there she is, just over 24 hours old. Did we come up with a name?
Yeah.
Clara.
Clara, hello, Clara. Oh, she's beautiful. And how are you feeling, Liliana?
I'm feeling better. After a shower, I feel almost back to normal.
Yeah. Obviously, we were there with you for the C-section. It was such a privilege to be there. Thank you so much.
No
it was a really special experience, I think, for everybody in that room, even the staff that carry these out multiple times a day. What do you remember about it?
It's a bit, for me, it was that curtain and not knowing what's happening. It was very important because I had the staff kept talking to me and saying what things were happening. So they kept me informed, because if no one spoke with me, I wouldn't know anything of what's going on.
Pedro, how are you feeling? Obviously, this is your third girl. And being in that operating theatre, even though you know it's managed, it's controlled, this team do these 5 times a day, more on average. How did you feel going through that? Because, of course, you're there for support. What was the experience like for you as a dad?
It felt a lot more controlled, so less chaos than a normal birthday.
It's very calm in there, wasn't it?
Very calm. The team that was on the theatre, they informed us. They keep us calm as well. The music helped. So to be fair, I felt much better than the previous ones.
And it went so well. You're literally just a couple of hours from going home, Liliana, and taking Clara to meet her sisters.
Yes.
How wonderful will that be?
I'm excited. I'm just waiting for them to say you can go, and I can go. I will go home.
Oh, well, wonderful. She's going to get lots of cuddles and kisses from her sisters. And Pedro informing me that Clara actually means famous, but they chose the name before they knew that we were following their birth. Thank you to the family. And now 14 babies have been born at University Hospital Coventry today, 8 boys and 6 girls. My thanks to all the staff here and, of course, to the patients that we've spoken to. We have been fortunate tonight to witness moments of absolute joy, the very best moments of people's lives. But not everyone has the same outcome. Across the UK, 70 babies were born over the course of this programme. 23 of those babies' mums will report some form of trauma, and 3 will develop postnatal post-traumatic stress disorder. Health bosses say they are committed to bringing about change, and tonight the government's maternity advisor told us she will hold them to account. But the families campaigning for change say they have been let down by the health service, and this issue